Welcome back to this week's Ohio Tech Report. It's another big week with some more records that have happened in the Buckeye State's tech and innovation scene and sector. But before we get to some of these big stories, we want to welcome Mike Walker of Microsoft. Mike, why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself, what part of Ohio you're in? But thanks so much for being here to start.
Yeah, thank you for having me, Chris. Like you had said, I'm with Microsoft. I'm their industry cloud strategy leader. And that's a really fancy set of words to describe. Microsoft is looking at core industries and figuring out how to create custom cloud based solutions for them. So we feel that this is the next evolution of cloud. And we see not only Microsoft, but we see other big tech giants as well going down the same route as well. So this is kind of the next big wave of cloud, from infrastructure as a service to platform as a service to now something really tangible that customers can get their arms around, that's tailored to their specific industry. And so I'm doing all this work from Cincinnati, Ohio, where I'm able to visit with all sorts of great customers and clients around the state of Ohio.
Yeah, but doing work globally, which I think is awesome when we have guests that are based here but get to do whatever they want and build whatever they want in tech in our state from Cincinnati. But let's dive into it. Before we begin, we need to thank Zendesk, who is our presenting sponsor, and they were built upon a simple idea: make customer service software that's easy to use and accessible to everyone. Their customer service and engagement products are powerful and flexible and scale to meet the needs of any business. They serve businesses across hundreds of industries with more than 145,000 paid customer accounts, offering service and support in more than 30 languages. Zendesk is headquartered in San Francisco. They operate worldwide. You can learn more at zendesk.com. And as they say, the best customer experiences are built with Zendesk. So, Mike, if you're ready, we're going to dive into story number one. And I love this, this has just worked out perfectly, where our first couple stories are from the Cincinnati region. And this is about a $213 million fundraising round. And it's a third Cincinnati startup joins the region's massive fundraisers. This is Astronomer, which was founded in 2015 in Over the Rhine. Their $213 million Series C was led by a bunch of big names from New York, and it sounds like all over the place. But they help companies manage their flow of data, and they've raised that massive 9-figure funding round. We do want to give a shout out to Liz Engel from the Cincy Inno team, who broke another big story. But this is a huge, huge, huge one, and just more momentum. And there seems every couple of weeks and months that there's another like Cincinnati startup that's just breaking and shattering records.
Yeah, you're right. I mean, it was fascinating. Is even last year, we were breaking records there, and Sensi, I think it was around 650 million in investment just last year, and now we see, even more, this year. And what I love about Astronomer and what they're doing with their airflow product, and that's kind of their marquee solution, is they're solving real problems that customers are having around, hey, I've got all these, my data is everywhere, and how do I orchestrate this? How do I create workflows around it? So it makes me really proud to see, Cincinnati building not just things that are useful, but things that are going to be mission critical for big companies around the world.
Yeah, for sure. It's huge, and kudos to them. Again, every week or two, it seems like in Cincinnati there's some huge round, which is amazing. But story two, we're going to stay in southwestern Ohio. This is also in Cincinnati, and Black Tech Week is coming to Cincinnati in July. And so what's really cool about this is that Lightship Foundation, they have acquired this event, so they're going to bring it to Cincinnati, and it's part of this effort that's happening by Lightship, by the region, to diversify the people investing in the companies that they invest in. And so this is going to be a whole week. And one of the things that I have flagged that I love, because I think this is vital, and Mike, you and I have talked about tech hubs and building them up,
Yep.
is that Black Tech Week is scheduled for July 18th to the 23rd, but it's the same time as the Cincinnati Music Festival. And so,
Yep.
as we've talked about, like tech hubs, you have to have that cultural side. And so I love how they're going to do tech, but they're also going to show off some of the awesome parts of Cincinnati with this music fest too.
Yeah, it's almost like a mini little South by Southwest here
Yeah,
in the Midwest, which is pretty cool.
yeah,
And I really like seeing these sorts of things because oftentimes in the innovation field, you see it dominated by a certain demographic of professionals. And whenever we can get more diversity plugged into the investment arms, the startup world, I think the better we're going to be off, and because we're going to fully round out those perspectives. And so, I'm really proud of these guys bringing this from Florida up to here, and hopefully it goes like gangbusters.
Absolutely. And again, kudos to Lightship Foundation, their CEO, Candace Matthews Bracken, for leading this charge. And I know groups like the Cincinnati Innovation District and others are going to be playing big roles in some of the broader efforts. But this Black Tech Week, bringing it from southeastern Florida to Ohio is incredible. And so we'll go on to story number 3. This is a fun one. We're going to head a little bit up I-71, but it's from Car Scoops, and it's about Honda. And they've opened a new $124 million wind tunnel facility at the Transportation Research Center in Central Ohio. And if people don't know TRC, check it out. We'll hyperlink them too, because they're doing some amazing work. But they're calling it the most advanced wind tunnel on Earth, and it will work on aerodynamics for both race and road cars, with the researchers to study the increasingly important field of aero. I'm not even going to say what it is, Mike, because I'm not smart enough to say it, but a big investment. Honda has a great Central Ohio presence. $124 million wind tunnel. Pretty cool.
It is pretty cool. And, geeking out a little bit, at 192 miles per hour, that's kicking up some speed,
Well,
right? And, I think why this is important for Ohio is, as we see more and more in the auto industry, that the supply chain challenges have really hindered progress moving forward. The more we can get here onshore and selfishly in Ohio, the less reliant we are on these fragile and brittle supply chains around the globe, and we can, start to get our economy back where it needs to be.
yeah.
I can tell you, I was in the market for buying a car, and I was told I was on a 6-month waiting list for a vehicle, right? And so, things like this make a huge difference.
Yeah, they really do. And I think you're onshoring, and I love when it's manufacturing, but tech, and there's the innovation side to it. Certainly Intel and the chips that are going to be being built here in Ohio. This is another one. And again, TRC, they do some incredible work. Honda has big investments in Central Ohio working with TRC, also working with groups like Ohio State. And it's just really, really, really cool to see these kind of collaborations, sometimes between public and private, and just all that goes into it. Because I think that's one of those things that Ohio does really well, where you have universities and higher education and businesses, et cetera, that make these types of really big investments and world leading things possible. But Mike, this has been great. Let's kind of turn it back to you. What are you seeing? You're always giving these speeches, predictions for tech, what's happening in the industry. But what are you seeing at Microsoft? And as we got about a minute left, kind of turning it back to you.
Yeah, I think the big thing right now is everyone is struggling to digitally transform their company. And we see this massive wave of transformation, and they're looking for reliable, trustworthy services to be able to do that. And there's so many different options out there. And so what I find, my job at Microsoft is not only representing Microsoft as a company, but it's also representing the customer in their best interests. And so that ties in really well with Microsoft's strategy as a partner company. So the majority of our solutions come from ISVs, vendors, et cetera. And so it's really about maximizing their value potential with our customers and orchestrating meaningful solutions. And so, I could talk about all sorts of great emerging tech, but I think that's the most critical thing right now for companies is, I got to compete with Amazon. I got to compete with, XYZ. How do we do that?
Yeah. Very cool. Well, Mike, thanks so much for joining. Thanks for sharing the work. And I loved how Cincinnati, first couple stories, Cincinnati, some big news that's happening. But yeah, every week there's new records, there's these new things coming to town, and it's really, really cool to see a lot going on in Southwestern Ohio. So I'm glad you're able to join today. Thanks for sharing your work. And again, thanks everyone for watching. You can watch us, of course, on LinkedIn. We also have it on YouTube, and we're starting to upload it to our podcast channel under Built in Ohio, which is the new name there. So Mike, you've been on the previous podcast name, the
Yep.
Future Lab. Now it's Built in Ohio. Same feed. We just kind of made it a little more Ohio specific to hear what's happening in our state. But that's all this week. 3 great stories. Thanks for joining, Mike. Thanks for being here, and have a great weekend, everybody. Bye-bye.